Hello friends, welcome to our channel Explain Things Around and our course Learn C Programming A to Z. Today we'll learn about pattern printing in C. So before we start, if you have not yet subscribed to our channel, please click on the subscribe button. So earlier we have learned about loops in C. We have learned how to use for loop, how to use while loop, how to use do while loop. And we also created some functions. We also created few programs where you implemented these keywords, these loops. So far we have used only single level of looping. So in this video we learned how we can use nested loops and how we can utilize that to print some specific patterns. So let's get into dev C++ and we start creating some programs. So let me create a new program here. So let me save it as, let's say, pattern 1 and save it as source type C. So let's try to create a pattern like first line, 1 star, second line, 2 star, third line, 3 star, fourth line, 4 star, up to n lines. Okay, so let's try to create a program which will print this one. So this should be your output. Let's put everything in comment. So you know we can use backslash star and the star backslash to put everything in comment. So we'll create a program which will give us output in this fashion where up to how many lines we want to print that user will define. So one thing if we notice here, this is printing star only, but how many star that is getting decided based on the number of line. If it is on the first line, only one star is getting printed. If it is on second line, only two stars are getting printed. If it is on fourth line, four stars are getting printed. So it is following a pattern if you can notice. So let's create a program that will print it in this fashion. So we'll start with hash include studio.h so that we can use our scanf and printf functions. We'll start with our entry point void main. Let's create a variable for number of rows, up to how many rows you want to print, or number of lines. So we'll create a variable integer for that, lines. Let's say lines. Let's keep command to user, say enter number of lines to be printed, and we'll use scanf function so that user can enter the value percentage %d, since this is the integer type, and we'll store that value on the line address of line variable. So we get the value in the line variable. So now we'll have to use two loop here. If you see, first loop will move first loop for printing and another loop to printing for a specific number of times. So let me write a program, just follow along, you will understand it. So two loop, two counter. So let's use two counter variable integer I comma j. So you know the structure of for loop now. So we'll start with the line. So we have suppose n line. So we'll start with the 1 to till that line. So line number is inside line. So we'll start with I equal to 1 and I less than equal to lines and I plus plus. Inside this we'll start printing. So how many times we'll print? We'll print till that line number. So that number is now stored in the counter I. So we'll start with our next counter j equal to 1, and j should be less than equal to line number. Line number is stored in the again counter I, and j plus plus. So till that many times you have to print star. Okay. Next thing to notice here, once it goes to next line, so once the counter moves from line 1 to line 2, we have to move our printer pointer also to the next line. So we'll have to use slash n. So slash n should get executed once this loop ends. So once the printing of first pointer, suppose it is on line number 3, so once it has printed all these 3, then it should encounter new line character. So in this case, once this loop gets executed, this loop gets completed, after that it should encounter new line. So it will not be with this for loop, it will be after that. So printf slash n. So how are we saying that this is not with this for loop? If we put this in braces, these two in braces, this printf and this printf, that means, hold on, this automatically takes, that is the problem. So if we put these two statement in the braces, then these will be attached with the first this for loop. But since we are not using brace, so by default only first line after for loop will be attached with the for loop. Next will be not be attached with that. So this will be taken inside this for loop. So for each line it will start printing till that many line number, and after that once that print is done, then it will print next line character. So it will move to next line, again it will go to the next line, and it will start printing star till how many star, till that row counter. So if row count is 2, it will print 2 star. If it is row counter 4, it will print 4 star. So let me save it and let's compile it. So only thing is you have to find the pattern, and you have to find how many counter you need. So you see here, no error, no warning. Let's run it. So to print this kind of output, if you notice, so you need two counter. One counter is for number of lines, another counter is to print on that line that many stars. So if I say 6, so you see it printed first line first star, second line 2 star, third line 3 star, fourth line 4 star, fifth line 5, and sixth line 6. So we earlier learned how we can print on single line these many stars based on the specific number. So now that number is passed to the counter here. So we have mixed two things. So now we are printing. So that printing activity is put in another loop, and moving to the next row, that is put into the another loop. And the line number counter is also stored in the variable I. So this is how you can print a specific pattern. Let's try to print something different also. So let's use a different pattern. So I'll create a new function for this. So you'll understand better how we are using the counter and how we are doing it with the help of loop. So this will be your output to pattern 2. So this time we'll try to do it in reverse. So suppose if lines are 4, so we'll start with first we'll have 4 star, then we'll have 3 star, then we'll have 2 star, and then we'll have only 1 star. This is how we'll proceed. Okay, so this kind of output we are looking for this time. So if you see this time, it is going into the reverse direction. There it was going from 1 to till that line number. This time it is starting with that line number and reducing one by one. So hash include studio dot h void main. So again we'll need one variable to get the number of lines. Let's say number of lines, and we'll need two counter variable, one for row and one for this printing purpose on each row. Let's say I comma j. Printf enter number of lines. Okay, let's say that scanf percentage d, and here ampersand this variable number of lines. So we get the number of line here. Now our counter will start. So first is for the row. Okay, so this time on the first row we are entering 4 lines. 4 stars. On the second row we are entering 3 lines. So you can take you either you can start your count in reverse direction, or you can use the calculation like if you see here number of line is 4, and if you are starting your counter 1 to 4, two things are there. If you are starting your counter from 1, okay, so you can use a simple calculation here like 4 minus 1 plus 1. So if you calculate, that will give you 4 star. Next row counter is 2. If you see here it is 2. So this also can follow your formula plus 1. This will return you 3. So you can even use this formula also to get the how many stars you want to print on that row. Or you can otherwise you can use the counter also in the reverse direction, like from rather than increasing from 1 to 4, you can increase it from 4 to, or you can decrease it from 4 to 1. So let's do that in that way. So we'll initialize it to 4, and till it is greater than equal to 1 we'll reduce it, and inside that we'll use another for loop. This will be for your printing purpose. So this will start in the same way, no change for this one. Less than equal to I and j plus plus will print, and after this we'll print a new line so that it moves to the next line. So your code is ready. So here we are reducing counter rather than increasing the counter. So let's save it as pattern 2, and let's save it as a source file C. Okay, so I have used 4, sorry, so I have not used 4 here. I can take the variable name. Okay, so it will start with the number of lines and it will start reducing one by one. Compile it, no error. Let's run it. So I'll give 5. So if you see on the first row it printed 5 star, on the second row it printed 4 star, and similarly it when it started decreasing and finally till 1 it printed. So same thing you could have achieved with the help of this formula also. Rather than decreasing, you could have used number of lines minus current row number. So if you are using current row number as 1, so you could have used that formula also, and you can kept increasing. So let me show you that also. So similarly like we did there in the first pattern, so we'll start with the row number 1. We'll not say this as a row number 4, so we'll say this as a row number 1. So we'll start our counter with I equal to 1, and we'll increment it till the number of lines. Okay, so here it will go I plus plus, but here in this case you have to change create a variable, but in this case you have to create a variable to get the number of star, how many star you want to print. So let's take a new variable for that, and so for each line you have to derive that how many star you want to print. So you can generalize this in a formula. So this will be your number of lines minus current row number, which is I plus 1. So this will give you how many star you want to print on that line. So this might be little complicated, but once you master this thing, you can print any pattern. So you only need to learn how you can generalize this pattern. So if you are taking your row number as 1, so you can generalize this like 4 minus 1 plus 1, that will give you 4 number of stars. Similarly, second row number 4 minus 2 plus 1, that will give you 3 number of stars to be printed on second line. Similarly that, so you just replace those with the variable. 4 is your what? Number of lines. Okay, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3, these are what? These are your row counters, so which is I, and plus 1. So just you need to store this in a variable, and your counter will go till this variable. So rather than I, this time your printing counter will start from 1 and it will print till that number of k. So let's compile it, no error, and let's run it again. let's give again 5. You see this also works in the same way. No, nothing changed. So it is only how you understand the pattern and how you want to derive that. So in this way you had to create one more variable k, and you had to loop till that number. Otherwise you would have used the loop in the decrementing order also. So there is no difference in that. Same formula, same hierarchy you can use to print any type of pattern. It can be odd number printing, even number printing. You just need to find a pattern. Fibonacci series, there are number of series. You can print APGP, just need to find the pattern and you can simply print it with the help of loop. So let me show you one more like we are doing here. So this time we'll print, let me create a new source file. Okay, and what will print, just even number, nothing. So we'll print 2, 4, 6, 8. So user need to give number of rows up to how many rows he want it to be printed. Okay, so hash include studio dot h wide main. We need just one input from user, excuse me, row number, printf, enter row numbers. Semicolon. So we have the row number now. And so if you again, as I said, so you need one counter here. So you see 1, 2, 3, each line will have a counter which will be used by your loop. Okay, and we'll start with for I equal to 1. We start with I equal to 1 and it will go till number of rows and I plus plus. And if you see here what we need to print, so if counter is 1, row counter is 1, you are printing 2. If row count is 2, you are printing 4. If row count is 3, you are printing 6. So if you see, it is just multiply by 2, right? So you can have a variable here. It is up to you. You can directly use this assignment in your printf function, but let's use a variable. So we'll have output equal to 2 into I, and this is what we'll print. Printf percentage %d, and we need slash n also for next line printing, and here we'll say output. One thing you notice, so you are using more than one line, so don't forget to use brace. So now it should print only even number. Even number, save it as C source file, compile it, no error, run it. So just give till how many rows you want to print. Okay, so we missed actually we missed here our scanf part. Scanf percentage %d, we didn't give command to user to enter the row number, so we have to include that also. Yeah. Save it, execute again, and run. So enter row number, let's say 6. So you see it started with 2 and ended, went till 12. So and again, if you want to start it from 0, you can use your row counter. Rather than 1, you can use row counter 0. So it will start with 0, 0, 2, 4, 10, 12. Similarly, if you want to print even odd number only, so just add plus 1, 2y plus 1. So you might have learned all these in mathematics also. General pattern, general formula for odd number, even number, we denote that as 2n plus 1. These things you might have learned. So these are the patterns you just need to understand, and you can simply achieve any pattern, eh, any number pattern or any star pattern, anything, with the help of loop. Let's say up to 10 I want to print. So it will start with 3, 5, 4, 6. So one thing we can notice here, it should have started from 1, right? So it did. So we can change the formula here. Rather than 2i plus 1, we can make it 2i minus 1. So on the first row, so 2 into 1 minus 1. So that will be for the first row, it will print 1. Compile again and run it. Say 7. So 1, 3, 5, 7, 9, 11, 30. So you can see it is able to print any pattern, odd number, even number, be it your star patterns. So if you similarly, there are number of patterns, Fibonacci series and many more. If you want to print that, just find the pattern there and you can use loops to achieve that. So I hope you liked this video, you learned something new from here, and if you have any question, feel free to put that in comment box, and don't forget to subscribe our channel, share it with your friends, help everyone. Thank you, thanks for watching.